Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. So let's just jump right in, because today we are going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about how we generate drive. We're constantly told that we need to find our spark, right? That we got to search for inspiration or wait for the stars to align before we finally take that big leap. But what if that entire equation we've been sold is completely backwards? Actually, scratch that. It is backwards. Today, we're extracting some core insights from entrepreneur Dan Martell to explore a concept that literally rewrites the rules of success. We're looking at the action equation, a framework that's designed to make you, dangerously motivated. And the exact stakes we're dealing with today, they're captured perfectly in this direct quote from our source material. "Give me under a minute, and I'll change the way you look at your life." I mean, wow, right? That is a massive promise, and it really sets this high-octane pace for our analysis today. We're not going to waste any time meandering through, abstract philosophies. No way. We are looking at the cold, hard mechanics of how high achievers actually operate. This material delivers a profound wake-up call, and honestly, it demands our immediate attention. All right, moving into our first section, Part 1, The Great Motivation Myth and Why Waiting is a Trap. Look, we've all been there, right? Sitting on the couch, maybe staring at a blank screen, or looking around a messy room, telling ourselves, you know what, I'll do it when I feel a little more motivated. We treat motivation like it's a weather system, like it's just going to roll in out of nowhere if we stand outside long enough. But we have got to stop waiting to feel ready for a perfect moment that is literally never going to arrive. It is the ultimate trap. The source text makes this brutally clear. Every single second you waste waiting for inspiration to strike, you are actively losing the opportunity to build your dream. It's not just a harmless little delay. It is the passive destruction of your own potential. We trick ourselves. We think, oh, I'm just gathering my energy, or I'm getting in the right headspace. It's that classic trap of getting ready to get ready. But in reality, we're just standing completely still while the clock ticks down on our goals. And the source actually defines this exact state of standing still as drifting on autopilot. It's a really tragic consequence of letting this bad habit totally paralyze you. Because think about it, when you're just waiting to feel ready, you aren't actually making choices. You're just letting time pass you by, defaulting to whatever is comfortable. And let me tell you, comfort is the absolute enemy of progress. As the source directly states, you have never leveled up while you were drifting on autopilot. Growth, success, leveling up, those things require deliberate friction. They require pushing through the messy, really uncomfortable middle. And that absolutely cannot happen when you're just coasting, waiting for some magical internal green light to push you forward. So this brings us to a really crucial comparison. The universally accepted lie is that autopilot mindset, where you wait for motivation to strike before taking a single step. We see this all the time, right? Aspiring creators or entrepreneurs who spend years staring at a blueprint, but they never lay a single brick because they don't feel inspired yet. Now contrast that with the counterintuitive reality of how true drive is actually constructed, the builder mindset. Builders understand a fundamental secret. Progress itself is what builds the motivation. The source explains that motivation isn't the starting line. It's the reward you get from making consistent progress over time. It's the momentum you pick up along the way. Think of writing a book or launching a business. That first draft or that first iteration, it is always a grind. The excitement, the inspiration, that only comes after you see the very first signs of tangible progress taking shape. Okay, let's jump to section 2, the engine of action, and how we actually build true drive. So if motivation isn't the fuel we put in the tank before the trip begins, then what exactly is it? Well, let's break this down based directly on the source material's new operating system. First off, motivation is not something you're born with. It's not some special gene or a unique personality trait, and it's definitely not something given to you by the universe or some hyped-up inspiring speaker. No, it is built entirely through consistent action. I just want to let that empowering, myth-busting reality sink in for a second. If you aren't feeling motivated, it's simply because you haven't started building it yet. Think about going to the gym. Literally, almost nobody feels fiercely motivated while tying their shoes in the cold, dark morning at 5 a.m. But after 10 minutes on the treadmill or, completing that first set of weights, the blood flows, the endorphins hit, and suddenly, bam, the drive kicks in. You do not get inspired without first doing the heavy lifting. And to help us out, the source provides a super clear 3-step formula to basically reverse engineer this drive. Step 1, do the work. Honestly, that is always going to be the hardest step because you're doing it cold. You don't have that warm, fuzzy feeling of inspiration backing you up. You are relying on sheer will to just start the engine. Step 2, make progress. By forcing yourself to do the work, you start seeing actual results. It might be hitting a word count, making a single sales call, or heck, even just organizing your desk. But it's undeniable progress. And then step 3, unlock motivation. Here is where the absolute magic happens. Motivation is the psychological reward you get at the very end of the cycle. You have to earn it. The action comes first, the visible results naturally follow, and then the feeling of motivation is the prize that keeps you coming back for more. Moving right along to section 3, discipline over inspiration, and overcoming the habit of waiting. Look, we need to inject a genuine sense of urgency into your routine right now. If we accept that waiting for inspiration is just a losing game, then we need a replacement tool, right? Something reliable that doesn't care at all about what kind of mood we're in. We so often think we need motivation, deep inspiration, or to simply feel ready before we can start. We treat those fleeting emotions as if they're prerequisites, but the source tells us point blank, what you actually need is discipline. You need the grit of just doing the work, day in and day out. You need consistent action. And this completely flips the classic paradigm on its head, because motivation, it's an unreliable emotion. But discipline, that is a dependable muscle. You rely on the muscle of discipline to force the initial action, which generates the progress, which finally yields that elusive feeling of inspiration. Because the absolute truth is, motion always beats motivation. If you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer today, take that. Motion always beats motivation. Even a clumsy, highly uninspired step forward is infinitely more valuable than sitting perfectly still with a brilliantly inspired mind. When you move, you interact with the world. Motion creates friction, friction creates heat, and heat creates the fire of motivation. You literally cannot think your way into a new way of acting, but you can absolutely act your way into a new way of thinking. All right, bringing us to section 4, the decision framework. Act your way there. We really need to focus on how you can practically apply this aggressive sense of urgency to the very choices that are currently holding you back. And the source leaves us with this incredible 3-step micro-manifesto. Step 1, stop waiting to make the right decision. Seriously, perfectionism is just procrastination dressed up in a nice suit. Step 2, make the decision. Just act. Pick a path and commit to it knowing full well it won't be flawless. And step 3, which is by far the most crucial of all, make it right. This is just brilliant because it tells us that action itself provides the data. You cannot steer a parked car. You act, you gather feedback from reality, and you course correct along the way. You take an imperfect decision, and through continuous motion and adjustment, you mold it into the right decision. Which brings us to the end of our explainer, and to the only question that really matters right now. What decision will you make right now? Not tomorrow, not when you feel sufficiently rested or ready, right now. You know the equation. The myth of the perfect moment has been completely dismantled. You don't need to be handed motivation. You have the exact framework to build it yourself through immediate, disciplined action. The clock is ticking and the autopilot is officially off. So, what's your next move?